Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. I'm well aware that this was short notice and that absolutely nobody is going to tune in to watch this. But that's fine. I'm going to treat it like a normal video. We'll be on for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. And we'll get, do you know, we won't finish, but we'll get very close to the end of my collection, which is something we've been working towards over the last couple of live streams. I'm just going to check that this is working as well. Just FYI, we have got Zoltan the Hound of Dracula with us today. So yeah, if you hear any weird dog-based noises, that'll be that. I'm just going to check that the stream is working, and then we'll crack on. I've got a load of stuff to update before we go through alphabetically. Massive amount to update because my Severin mid-year sale order arrived. So I will talk more about that when we get to it. I'm just going to make sure that I say an advert straight away. Incredible. I've got the Bluetooth connected up as well, so we'll have a bit of music. I've decided on the Doom soundtrack, but the PlayStation one, because it's very atmospheric and creepy. Lovely. We're all working. So I've set the music off. I don't think it'll be too loud because it's no lyrics or anything in it. I'll adjust it as and when. Lovely. Right, we're away. 2 people. Hello, 2 people. I've got with me today a large pint of cold water because my throat is hurting. And I figured that Coke wouldn't do it any good. Dog, will you stop wiping your nose up against that window? Right, yes, so carrying on, we're up to M. We just did the Andy Milligan box set last time, which is where we're going to go from. But before I do that, I'm going to go through the stuff I've got on the bed because it's stuff earlier in the alphabet that I've since got since the last live stream. So I'll start with the Severin Stack. So I ordered a big bunch of stuff off Severin for their mid-year sale, which you'll realise is quite a while ago. The reason being that my first package got lost and they had to wait to see if it was going to show itself. It didn't. I think it's in Brazil somewhere. So the tracking says. So they sent me another package out and it's finally here. Can't fault Severin as much as it took a while. Obviously they needed to make sure, because it was a decent sized order, they needed to make sure that it was actually lost before they sent another one out. And it was, and they did send another one out. I think there were 13 items on the order. A decent stack of them I've got here. A few of them obviously start with letters later than M, so I won't show those off. But we'll do the Severin ones first, then we've got a couple of other bits to show off, then we'll crack on. So, the first Severin one I want to show off, we're cracking straight on with video nasties, is Cannibal Man, or as it's known, I'm just going to turn that music down slightly, as it's known in Spain, where it was made, The Week of the Killer, which is a much better title because there's very little in the way of cannibalism in this movie. This was picked up as a video nasty, unsurprisingly, because it had the C word in the title, not that C word. Yeah, and it was really, really hard to find when I reviewed the video nasty, so I was so excited to see this get a proper release. Lovely slipcover, you've got some original artwork there. This is all embossed as well, so the title's lovely and embossed. This image is as well. On the back there, quite basic, but I mean still quite nice. I think that's the VHS artwork. Is it CJ? Yes. Review on the top, title on the bottom. Take it out. We've got some more artwork. I love it when the slipcover is different to the actual disc in terms of its artwork, because I like a bit of variety. What does that say? If you are alone, don't answer the door. That's quite an exploitative way of marketing this movie because it's a little bit more than what the advertising would suggest. In terms of the transfer on this, it's absolutely stunning. It's far better than the version I originally saw, which was off some bizarre website when I needed to watch it to review the video nasties. Yeah, it looks fantastic. There's some really, really insightful special features on this. And it's essentially about a man living in Spain in poverty. Right next door to this. Will you stop chewing the door? Right next door to this high-rise apartment building full of sort of the more upper-class people, and the man it sounds a little bit contrived, but it does make sense in the movie. He accidentally becomes involved in this sort of murder spree. It all starts with one incident, but obviously being lower class, the police wouldn't believe him, and it ends up sort of people who find out about it end up under his, you know, bed. So, yeah, I was going to say something else, but yeah, they physically end up under his bed. Hi Ben, glad you finally got your Severin package. Yes! Thank you, it is here and I'm super happy with it. But yeah, it's a really good film. It's got more to say than you might expect. It's got a lot to say about the Spanish socio-political goings on at the time, and it's really kind of almost intellectual for a movie called Cannibal Man. Really enjoyable though. It's got gore if you want gore, it's got subtext if you want subtext. It's all round just a really, really good movie, and this is a fantastic release from Severin of Cannibal Man. I'm going to put these away as and when I show them off, so apologise if you see anything you shouldn't, but I don't want to get anything muddled up. Lovely. Next one is an upgrade from one I had originally. That's a movie that I've never owned before. Oh, that light's bright. I used to own the 88 Films version of this one, but now I see it as an upgrade. It seems like a much nicer package of one of my all-time guilty pleasure movies, Burial Ground, by, oh, what's his name? It's Antonio or something or other? Is it Antonio? Andrea Bianchi. Known for making really quite sleazy movies, this being no exception. Yeah, this movie is a zombie movie with like the most bare bones plot you can imagine. Just some people turn up at a house and then there are zombies. Narratively awful. In terms of dubbing, awful. Is it entertaining? Fucking hell yes, this is entertaining. This is one of the most fun zombie movies ever. Yeah, so you've got a lovely slipcover, really tight slipcover. It almost makes me nervous to take it out because it feels like the slipcover's going to rip. That's the artwork that I had on the 88 Films release, which I really quite like as well. There's been some people whinging about this blue box thing because apparently there's been a shortage of the clear ones. I don't really care for that. I mean, the clear ones look a little bit nicer, but I'm more than happy with the blue. Got some alternative artwork on there as well. And yeah, it's interesting. Again, some special features on the back. There's one about the house where this was shot, and apparently it was it like Napoleon's sister's house or something that they ended up shooting this in. It's featured in a load of other movies as well. But yeah, if you haven't seen this and you're into kind of sleazy, gory, low budget, little bit naff but also really entertaining kind of stuff, then yeah, Burial Ground, fully recommended from me. And also has Peter Bark in it, who's like a 30-year-old man playing a child. Yes, so I'll shove this away. Next one is, I don't really know what to say about this one. The Beast in Heat. This isn't a traditional horror movie, this is in the Nazi-sploitation subgenre, which was popular around the time of the video nasties, a little bit before, maybe in the 70s. Really nasty, horrible films. I mean, they're silly, but they are still quite mean-spirited. Someone has got a Philips Hue in the room. Actually, it's a whiz bulb. Okay, I work in Argos. We don't do Philips, or at least I don't, because it's too expensive. Thank you, though. Yeah, it looks good as well, doesn't it? Beast in Heat is one of those movies. It's set at a sort of, obviously, a Nazi concentration camp where they're doing horrible experiments on people. It's not a particularly nice subgenre, I'll be honest. I really only picked this up because it's one of the video nasties and I'm obviously obsessed with them for some bizarre reason. Yeah, it's even as far as that subgenre goes. Can you get me a PS5? No, I can't. I got myself one by some random stroke of luck. But yeah, they're totally out of stock everywhere. But I wouldn't be in such a rush, you know, because there's not a massive amount that's out on the PS5 or that's PS5 exclusive at the minute. People seem to be panicking. There's no need to panic because I'm mainly playing PS4 games on the PS5, which obviously I'm not getting the benefit of, with the exception of a couple of things. I've lost my train of thought now, but yeah, I kind of only got this because it's one of the video nasties. It's not a particularly good film, even in the context of the Nazi-sploitation movies, which were never really sort of incredible. What? Why are we crying? What's wrong? I can't get you up here because there's loads of limited edition stuff that you'll chew through. Is it this you want? Did you see the word beast and you recognised yourself? Yeah, it's the titular beast is this kind of sexed up man that they keep in a cage, and if the prisoners don't behave themselves, they basically throw them to the beast and he shags them to death. There's a scene in this where he bites off a woman's pubes. Not a sentence I ever thought I'd say on YouTube, but yeah. It's quite a basic release, to be fair, but it's not a movie that particularly deserves a really exciting release, to be honest. Transfer looks good. I haven't actually seen the full thing, but I always sort of, since getting this, I haven't seen the full thing. But I always flick on the movie and just see what it looks like. And yeah, it's a pretty version of a really, really horrible film. So yeah, Beast in Heat, that one is. And I'm trying to find out where that one goes. It goes up there. Next to The Beast Must Die and The Beast Within, that makes sense. Next one, we're going into Fulche territory with Demonia. One of the later Fulci movies, not quite as well known or as good as his earlier stuff, his sort of zombie flesh eaters and City of the Living Dead and House by the Cemetery stuff. This concerns some archaeologists who go to an island. There's an archaeological dig, but there's also this old sort of cathedral that this one lady gets a little bit too involved with, and it turns out there were some nuns who were killed there, and they it's kind of like a haunting thing, but a bit of a possession thing as well. It's again late day Fulci. It's a little bit of an excuse to show gore, which is no fault of his. He just got caught in that trap of just having to crank out horror movies. It's narratively not great. It's entertaining enough. I mean, that's as much as I love Lucha Fulci, some of his movies, that's all you could say really. You go to bed. Yeah, it's entertaining enough. It's kind of similar in tone to the next movie I'm going to show, which is another Fulci one. Yeah, it's fine. It's kind of got that grimy late 80s feel to it. It's what I call a headache movie. It kind of, you know, when you watch it and you're thinking, I don't know, something about the washed out sort of colour palette does that to me. Really good artwork on this. I actually really like it. I thought it was glow in the dark at first. It kind of looks like that shade of green, but it's not. And as with the others, pretty basic on the packaging side of it, but again, there's not really much more to be to be said than what the few special features say. If I remember rightly, there's a retrospective on here. No, I think that's on the next one. I think there's like a little bit of a Fulci retrospective, which is good. Incidentally, there's a channel called Dr. Sparkle After Dark he does reviews of the Nasties, but on his review of, I think it's The House by the Cemetery or The Beyond, he does like a full Fulci start to finish retrospective, which is really, really insightful and interesting because he somehow has access to all this bizarre information. So yeah, that's my recommendation for the day. And that is Lucio Fulci's Demonia. Not a film that I massively enjoyed, but still fun enough if you're in the right mood for it. And that goes next to Demons, I believe. And yeah, the next one, similar release from them, similar kind of film really, Lucio Fulci's Enigma. Maybe this one's slightly better than Demonia. I'd kind of have to watch this one again. It's been a little while since I've seen it. It's the light getting in the way. I feel like I'm going to move that a little bit further away. There we go. Yeah, can I even remember what this film's about? It's kind of one of those that you sit through, and then when someone asks you how it was, you go, There's a bit where a woman gets suffocated by slugs. That's about as much as you need to know. And a statue comes to life. It's about a school, this kind of really strict girls' school, and I think, did one of the students die and she's kind of haunting the people there? It's something like that. It's, again, quite contrived and a little bit of an excuse for set pieces. But again, with Demonia, if you're in the right mood for that sort of thing, it's really, really worthwhile. Really good artwork as well. I absolutely love that kind of hands thing going on. I think that's been used on a couple of other Italian posters. They had a kind of habit of doing that, nicking little bits from other posters that they liked. So yeah, that's the artwork on there. What's the artwork inside? Is it any different? No, it is not. Yes, that's the artwork inside. I think... Oh, it's not. I'm trying to think. I'm sure one of these... Oh, there we go. Italian Enigma, appraising late-day Fulci featurette. That's like a sort of look into his later movies, which is really interesting, actually. And I forgot this one actually comes with a CD soundtrack, which is nice. And when Severin do this, they always give you a little card with the track listing on, which is good. I haven't listened to the music in isolation. I vaguely remember the music being fine. But I'll shot it in my CD player at some point and give it a listen, because I totally forgot that was in there. So that is, I hate putting slip covers back on. Come on, you're better off going from the top, aren't you? There we go. Lucio Fulci's Enigma, which goes up there. Okay, I don't really know what to say about this one because I haven't seen it in ages. Invasion of the Blood Farmers. Directed by, what's his name? Eddie Adlam, is that the director? I think it is. Yeah, this is kind of a very ambitious but very low budget movie about a cult who... I'm sure there's a subplot with scientists where they have this blood that keeps sort of regenerating itself, like they have this cup of blood that just keeps filling up and up and up. And it's something to do with this cult that need human blood. I genuinely cannot remember any more than that. This was on the Section 3 Video Nasties list. Ed Adlam, yes, got it right. Yeah, this was on the Section 3 list. Again, probably wouldn't have picked this up if it wasn't on the Section 3 list. Or at least I wouldn't have been in such a rush to pick it up. But it's nice to see a movie like this get a release from Severin, because... I'm trying to figure the lighting out. The green is too green. Yeah, it's nice to see a film like this get a release like this. It's kind of one of the reasons why I really like collecting media like this, because it's not just kind of your Kubricks and your Hitchcocks and, you know, getting these lavish releases. You also get lovely little hidden gems, you know, like this. Not that it's an incredible movie, but it is a cool little grindhouse thing. So yeah, I don't know why there's a rainbow Severin thing on there. I really like it though. It's on the side as well, I think. A little rainbow Severin logo. There's no other artwork on this one because I think it only had the one poster. There we go. I also incidentally had a dream. This is really out there, but I'm going to say it anyway. I had a dream that there was a shop nearby that sold like horror memorabilia, and they had like vinyl soundtracks. I distinctly remember the two things they had in there that I was really excited for. Again, totally fictional. This is in a dream. There was the soundtrack on vinyl to Umberto Lenzi's Nightmare City, which may or may not be coming up later. And they also had a doll of like an action figure of that farmer. I don't even like the film that much, so, you know, it's fine, but I don't know why that would stand out to me. I just remember picking it up off the shelf in a dream, going, oh, the Invasion of the Blood Farmers doll doesn't exist. Neither does the shop. I was really sad when I woke up from that dream. But yeah, tangent over. That's Invasion of the Blood Farmers. Let me know if that music's too loud, because I can tell it's creeping up in volume. We're getting into some interesting stuff in a second. There's a couple more Severin things, then there's two really nice Severin releases, or rather one really nice Severin release. This is another upgrade. I had the 88 Films version of this, and this just felt like a much nicer release, so I traded it in. I know there was a release that was like a double with Absurd, which I might just show this off at the same time. Kind of like a semi-sequel to this, also directed by Joe D'Amato. There was like a... I'm sure they were released together, but I just picked them up separately. One of my favourite pieces of artwork on any horror poster of all time is George Eastman eating his own guts on a beach, which is lovely. Also have a jigsaw of that, which was surprisingly difficult. I'm just going to quickly see what happens if I put the light up there, because I feel like it's getting a little bit dark outside. That's a little bit better, isn't it? You can sort of see things a bit clearer. Yeah. One of my favourite kind of grindhouse movies, this one. When I went to watch the Nasties, I think this is the one that comes first alphabetically, apart from Absurd. It was the first one I watched anyway. It was on YouTube in some form, and it reminds me of kind of first getting introduced to movies like this. And as much as it's not even one of the best of its genre, it is a movie I really appreciate just for its atmosphere and its grindhouse and its goriness. And its nastiness. Is kind of one of the more famous video nasties. Got a couple of special features on the back there. I think this is in 2K. Yeah, it's in 2K, which I think it looks much nicer than the 88 Films version, if I'm remembering it right. Open it up. Cheekily, I've actually, because I'm an absolute monster, I cut the slipcover in half because I really like that as a little card from the 88 Films version. And I keep it in here, in this Severin release, which I know would send people up the wall, but I totally forgot it was in there. So, yeah, that's their release of Anthropophagus, which goes in between And Soon the Darkness and As Above, So Below. And then we've also got its semi-sequel Absurd. Oh, that's much better, isn't it, the lighting? Yeah, not really linked in any way apart from a Greek coin that's found in the pocket of the bad guy in this, and the guy in Anthropophagus is Greek. That's like as much as you get. Also, I think written by George Eastman, who is the monster in both films, and directed by Joe D'Amato. This is more of a Halloween rip-off, if anything. It's kind of about this superhuman guy going around killing people, and, you know, then there's also them trying to stop him. Again, it's sort of... The pacing on this is really awful. Like, the end, which should be really intense, is paced so weirdly that it comes across just really slow. But having said that, it is still a really enjoyable movie for the same reasons as Anthropophagus. It's kind of from the same, it's cut from the same cloth. It's got a really nasty grindhouse kind of vibe about it, which I enjoy. And yeah, this is again a really nice release and another upgrade from the 88 Films version. What do we have in here? We have the CD soundtrack as well, which is nice because this has a really good soundtrack by Carlo Maria Cordio. Yeah, it's one of my favourite soundtracks. I've got the vinyl as well, which is really, really pretty. And I've also, again, just to piss people off, stolen the booklet from the 88 Films version, which has kind of information about all the video nasties in it, just because I thought it'd be a shame to get rid of. So yeah, that is absurd. I've decided I'm not really, unless I really like a film, I'm not going to recommend them, because I think from what I say, you'll kind of get the gist of whether you're going to like it or not. So yeah, that goes right next to Enigma, bizarrely. There we go. Now, the next one is a film that I was really excited to see after seeing it on Mark Gatiss's History of Horror. And it's a really kind of classic British folk horror film that I just hadn't had the opportunity to see until now. So, this is their release of Blood on Satan's Claw, also called is it the Devil, Satan's Skin or the Devil's Skin, something like that. About I'm sure it's children in this village. You know, I watched it recently as well. I can't remember it that well. It was good. I enjoyed it. It's just one of those things that I want to get right. But it's got something to do with the children in this village, and you know, there's a satanic presence and sort of strange happenings going on. Yeah, it was featured in that documentary, History of Horror, and it has a really, really nasty scene which kind of spiked my interest. But yeah, it's a really, really good film. It's kind of got that early 70s British vibe about it. You know, it's kind of off-kilter more than it is full-on scary. Another one of these with a really, really tight slipcover. I think this has got 3 discs in it, or is it 2 discs? I don't know, I'll tell them. I hate taking these off. Right. There you go, that's some original artwork as well for you. Blood on Satan's Claw. Loads of special features on this one, as you can see. Severin, I really like Severin for their packaging and for the transfers, but the special features sometimes are lacking a little bit. Not the case here. And yes, this is 2 discs. So you've got the CD soundtrack, really good music in this one, and obviously a little track listing card, and the movie itself there, which is really nice. Do we have alternative artwork? We do, but I'm not going to show it off because it's pretty similar to what's already on the front. Oops, and speaking of which, I've knocked it out of place. Whee! There we go. Yes, that's Blood on Satan's Claw. Really, really like that one. I was really, really glad to finally see it. And I'm going to keep it out because right next to it on the shelf goes the final of the final Severin release we're going to show today from my mid-year sale batch, and that is, of course, their lovely lavish release of Blood for Dracula. Now this is the 3-disc one. This is quite a package we've got going on. Yeah, this is directed by a guy called Paul Morrissey, who worked closely with Andy Warhol, who I think provided the financing for these films and produced them. I say these films because there was also Flesh for Frankenstein, which featured on the Video Nasties list. This didn't, but it's kind of, again, cut from the same cloth. And it's a really unique, it's not the kind of Whitby Dracula, it's a really unique retelling of the Dracula story where he has to move, he moves to, is it to Italy he moves? I'm sure he moves to Italy. Because it's a food source, he needs blood, which kind of, in a way, makes Dracula a victim in this story. It's strange. He's more kind of reliant on the people around him, because, you know, if he doesn't get blood, he's weak. If he gets blood that isn't from a virgin, it makes him violently ill, as kind of shown on the back there. Played by Udo Kier, who does, as usual, fantastic performance. Also played Frankenstein in the other film that they did together. Of the two, I think I prefer Frankenstein. I have to say, this is a little bit, I don't want to say it's more serious because it's very wacky, but it's kind of very dialogue heavy, and it takes a while to really kick in with the stuff you'd expect, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, I really, really enjoyed this one for what it was. It was very atmospheric and different. But of the two, I think I pick Flesh for Frankenstein, which incidentally is getting a 4K release from Vinegar Syndrome at some point, I believe. Hopefully in 3D as well, because that was released in 3D. So, in terms of the things we've got going on here, we've got a lovely write-up on the back. Three discs, so you've got the 4K UHD feature on the first disc, you've got Blu-ray on the second. And then you've got the CD soundtrack, which is really lovely. Slide out here. This is one of the nicest kind of slip covers. It's so thick and glossy, it's lovely. It's not going to show any signs of damage anytime soon. And then we've got that, which is some alternative artwork. I'm careful opening this up because I'm aware that I put my Intervision sticker in here, which came with the order. Was it not a Severin one as well? I thought there was. Yeah, little sticker you get with your order. So you've got your soundtrack card there again with some interesting artwork on it. Lots of music on this one, and really good music as well. So yeah, this opens up, you've got your 3 discs, you've got the 4K feature, you've got the Blu-ray in the middle and the CD on the end, and you've got some fantastic artwork on the outside of that there. So yeah, this is kind of like a, if it wasn't on sale, it would have been a day one purchase, because it's a film that after having seen Flesh of Frankenstein, I was actually very excited to see. Pull that back in there so it doesn't get creased. And again, I don't know if you can see, but it is actually embossed. You can kind of, like, you can see there, like the little ridge where his face is, and it's all glossy. So yeah, fantastic release. Probably, it's definitely the best release of the bunch that I've got. Yeah, they go that way around. Of the bunch I got from Severin, it's definitely the best release. So which is why I saved it for last. That's my mid-year sale done, apart from stuff that came after M alphabetically. I'm just going to quickly check the comments on the YouTube video in case I've missed any. I'm aware that the music might stop, so I'm just going to pause that temporarily. Shriek of the Mutilated is a film... Just making sure that's not too loud. God, it's not too loud, where's it go? Music just went really quiet. Yeah, Shriek of the Mutilated is a film I'm aware of because of Dark Corners, who just commented. Yeah, they reviewed... Great Hall, thank you very much. Yeah, they reviewed Shriek of the Mutilated. It's one of my favourite titles of any horror film. I haven't seen this, but I know that that title comes from a poster of another film. I'm sure I've mentioned this in a live stream before, and I can't remember what film it comes from, but there's a poster that says something like the Shriek of the Mutilated, and they took that from the tagline and made it a title of a movie. I'm also aware of it because it was played in the 80s on like a 5-feature drive-in thing alongside Herschel Gordon Lewis's Wizard of Gore. What else was on that 5-feature bill? If you want to know, I did a documentary on Herschel Gordon Lewis where I mention it. But yeah, a couple of reasons I know of that movie, but I haven't seen it yet. We're going to move on to Arrow. Yes, we are. We're going to move on to Arrow. And I'm deciding what to show off. Do you know what? Fuck it. I'm showing this off because I'm so happy with it. I got the Hellraiser Scarlet box for 50 quid, which is probably the cheapest that anyone's ever bought this. Yeah, I had the trilogy that Arrow released in that kind of brown box, but this is where it's at when it comes to Hellraiser. Yeah, slightest bit of damage there, but it sits on the shelf that way, so I'm not really that fussed. In here you've got the first 3 Hellraiser movies and a whole bunch of other stuff which I'm going to show off now. I really like the design of the box because it's kind of reminiscent of the Lament configuration. Trying to figure out why the wall behind me is flashing. Vinegar Cinema is releasing Shriek in early 2022. I didn't know that. Thank you very much. I'll add it to my list because I've got a big list on my phone of things I need to get. So yeah, this lifts off like this. I was kind of confused at first as to how this opened, but yeah. How nice is that? So you've got, you'll have to bear with me while I figure out where I'm at. So you've got Hellraiser 1, or just Hellraiser, on Blu-ray. You've got Hellraiser 2. I love the artwork for these. On Blu-ray. Keeping this all in the right order as well. You've got Hellraiser 3, which is actually a film I really enjoyed, despite the general consensus. On Blu-ray. You've got a load of stuff after this that I don't even remember what it is. The Clive Barker Legacy, so I'm assuming this is like a documentary on Clive Barker. You've got, whatever the fuck this is, Documents of Blood, which opens up like that. So in here we've got a poster, which is nice. Just open it up to make sure. I think it's Hellraiser on both sides, like the first Hellraiser. Yeah, you've got Pinhead there, and you've got Pinhead there. you've also got a little mini booklet about Hellraiser. Or is it rather the... Oh, concept art. That's cool. It's almost like I haven't looked in here. I have. It was just a while ago when I got it. So yeah, you've got some really cool sketches for the initial designs by the looks of it. You've got... Oh my god, there's so much. You've got like a little Arrow art card for another one of their releases. And then... Oh, postcards. Hellraiser postcards. You've got Pinhead there. You've got Frank on that one. You've got another Xenomorph? What are they called? Cenobite. You've got that dickhead from part 2. You've got that bitch from part 3. And then we're back to Pinhead. And yeah, these are actually postcards, which you can write on, but I won't because I'm not a psychopath. Put this back away. There's more in this box set to come. In case you're not aware of the Scarlet box set, it doesn't end there. There's a lot more. So yeah, that's in the Documents of Blood booklet. Then you've also got... I mean, how the hell is this? Damnation Games. That's a fucking book. That rivals the Dawn of the Dead, Documents of the Dead book. In here, how many pages is this? This is 196 pages. So let's have a look at the contents. We've got... Shit myself there. The dog just rolled his toy towards my foot. Damnation Games. Steps on the Forbidden Path to Hellraiser. Hellraiser Press Kit. Hellraiser Faustus Endures, Hellraiser 2, press kit. Oh, you've got loads of press kits, that's cool. Pinhead Unbound, A Study in Scarlet, about the restorations. Packed full of information and pictures and things about the movies, which is going to take me ages to read, but it will be an absolute pleasure, I'm sure. And then at the bottom of the box, can't really see it, says, I am in hell, help me, which is funny. I think you wrote that on the wall, didn't you, Blood? So, yes, while I pack all this away, very happy to get that, especially for 50 quid. I mean, that's ridiculous. I got it from CEX, which I know can be risky, especially if you do it online, because you don't actually see the product that you're buying until it arrives. And I'll be honest, when it first turned up, I was fucking furious because it looked like it was in awful condition. Like the little paper wraparound was all ripped and it was covered in sticker marks. Very nearly took it back, but then part of me went, just try and clean it up. And look how it came out. Apart from that, which I obviously can't fix, but I'm not really that bothered about. Yeah. Absolutely lovely set that. That's a Hellraiser Scarlet box, which goes in here. I think. Hang on. That looks about right. I genuinely don't. Oh no, hang on. I know this isn't very entertaining for you unless you like looking at. Well, we're not going to go there. I'm going to put it there for now because I think that's right. And sticking with Arrow, they recently released some 4K sets of some Argento movies, which is very nice, because I initially owned the standard releases, then I upgraded to the limited edition releases, and then just as I upgraded, they announced another upgrade, and yeah, they are now onto the 4K releases of these 3 films. And if you are aware of these movies, you probably know what I'm going to show off. It's 3 of his Jarly. So we've got his directorial debut, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, starring Susie Kendall. Fantastic Jarlo, this one. As one would expect, it is bursting at the seams with special features and video essays and trailers and press stuff and all that lovely fun stuff. Yeah, I mean, Argento never really made a bad Jarlo, did he? Especially in his kind of golden period. Where has the music gone? There we go. Yeah, and this is no exception. It's a fantastic movie, especially if you're into that genre. Open these up. It's kind of the standard for Arrow limited edition releases, but you've got the, I mean, obviously that's the original artwork there. That's the 4K disc, which has some art cards in it. You know what? I'm going to get the art cards out. I'm going to get the art cards out and have a flick through them. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, Jarlo or Jarly are kind of these very stylized Italian murder mystery thriller kind of things. Generally quite convoluted, but nonetheless very enjoyable for their atmosphere, especially if nothing else. And Argento just was exceptionally good at them. This is the book that comes with it. I've read through this. It's as insightful as any other Arrow book I've ever read. It's really, really fantastic and packed with information. Then you also get a poster which has the new artwork and the original artwork on it. So that's the original poster there, Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and then you've got the lovely new artwork on there as well. one thing I quite like about the 3 releases that they've just done of Argentos is that the art style is consistent among the 3 of them, so it feels like a proper set. Which wasn't the case with their initial releases that I had. They all looked quite different, but yeah, these feel like 3 very similar releases. So that's The Bird with Crystal Plumage. Then we have the follow-up. Yes, this is the follow-up, then I did 4 Flies. Follow-up to that, The Catalan Tales, another fantastic Giallo movie. Again, as you can see, the artwork, just hold them up. They're not the same, but you get the kind of gist, you know, stylistically very similar. Yeah, another fantastic little movie, this one. I think I prefer Bird with a Crystal Plumage, but this is nonetheless, again, a fantastic Jarly. Packed with special features again. Quickly open this up. You've got the original Italian artwork there, Il Gatto Novacord, or something. Sorry. We've got more art cards, which I'll quickly flick through. Obviously the disc is in there. I really like Arrow's limited edition releases. I have to be honest, Arrow have gone from being my favourite label to not being my favourite label, but it's still so worth your time to pick these up if you can get them, because there's so much love and attention to detail and care gone into them. The book with this one I haven't read yet, but I mean, expectations are high, let's be honest. It's usually the case that these are really, really fun. And then we've got the poster, which again has the original and the new artwork on it. I'll quickly open it up because it's nice to see it on a big scale. Which way are we? That way, that's the original poster. Really love that. And the new one as well, which is fantastic. I have to be honest, now it's getting dark, I'm slightly regretting putting this music on. However, I'm going to stick with my decision. So yes, Catalan Tales. And then my favourite Giallo of all time, and obviously goes without saying my favourite Argento Giallo, Deep Red. Again, similar art style. This is just the absolute best a Giallo can get, in my opinion. It's perfectly balanced between drama and horror and comedy and mystery and suspense. It's a really, really well thought out story. Just checking where the dog is. Really well thought out, really fantastically acted. The music in this is incredible. It's one of Goblin's absolute best soundtracks, in my opinion. It's also the first time he worked with them. I think Ennio Morricone and Argento had a bit of a falling out, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, Goblin ended up doing the music, and boy did they do a good job. I didn't like that there was a voice on the music. This has actually got 2 discs, I think. Yes, 2 discs in this one. Need I say more? This is just packed with stuff. You've got the original artwork on the disc, which again, I really, really like that poster. Open this up. You've got. Do you know? It's funny you should. Funny you should mention this. It's funny that this one pops out. I think they've just released this, haven't they? Shock. There's like a slip cover of Mario Barber's Shock, and Beyond the Door 2, isn't there? Like you can choose, because it was released under both titles. Also starring Daria Nicolodi, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, again, more art cards with this one. If you're going to watch any Argento Giallo, I'd say Deep Red. I know that's a really boring answer, and you'd like me to say that my favourite Giallo is the fucking cat with the black velvet gun or some shit like that, but there's a reason that this is my favourite, and a lot of other people's favourites. It's just brilliant. So yeah, on the first disc there, you've got the UHD Blu-ray, which on all of them looks magnificent. And then, oops, is it going to turn over? I hope it does. You've got. Do you know what? I thought the soundtrack was in here. It's not. It's the separate version of this film. So the initial Italian version of this was about 2 hours long, I think, which is what's on that first disc. And then the export version is I say slightly. It's kind of majorly cut down to about an hour and 40, I think it is. So this is the international version. That's the original version. I always swing towards this. The only problem with that version is that the portions that weren't in the English version don't have an English dub. And I'm a Philistine, and I like my films dubbed as opposed to subtitles. I know that's controversial. Shut the fuck up. It doesn't make you clever because you can read subtitles. It makes it easier to watch. Anyway, yeah. So there's points in this version where it kind of switches between English and subtitled Italian, which can kind of throw you off. But touch wood, it's mainly at the start, and once it gets into the bulk of the story, it tends to be less of a problem. But yeah, watched this not so long ago. Loved it, as you know, as expected. Wonderful book, again, full of lovely bits of information and pictures and all sorts like that. The thing is with Deep Red, it's a film that's so cleverly layered, it really makes it worthwhile to kind of analyse and look into. Because I think there's a few video essays on the disc. That always reminds me of Vertigo, Hitchcock's Vertigo, and I'm sure that's probably intentional, but I love that poster. And there's the really, really creepy and horrendous new artwork, which I'm going to fold away now before it haunts me forever. I know I've just missed a couple of comments there. I'm going to flick back and see what those were about before we move on. I've still got a few things to show off before we go onto the actual working through of the alphabet. I'm just going to shove these back on the shelf quickly. Again, as I say, together, it's so deluxe. It's so deluxe. Catalan Tales goes in there without me falling over, ideally, because I nearly did. Bird of the Crystal Plumage goes in there. Deep Red goes in there. Right. Arrow. We're going to stick with Arrow. No, I'm not. Sorry, I'm going to quickly check the comments on here. Again, I'm going to stop the music to do so. Do you know what, actually? I'm going to mute that so that I'm not going to come through the speaker. That's a good idea. Agreed on Deep Red, a fully realised masterpiece. Abso-fucking-lutely. Shock is coming from Arrow, yet Dario Nicolodi is brilliant in it. It's a film I haven't seen, I have to be absolutely honest, as much as I love Lamberto Bava. Mario Bava. Yeah, it's not one of his that I've seen, excuse me. I hope I'm not getting a cold, because I've already got a sore throat. Hence the glass of water. Anyway, let's cover up the sirens with more horrible music. Excuse me. Right. Yeah, we've got one more Arrow release, then we've got an 88 Films release, then we've got a 101 Films release, and then we can crack on. So, he came from the swamp, apparently. This is a set that I really wasn't that intent on picking up, frankly, because it was quite expensive, and it's, for the most part, films I'm not that bothered about. But then I saw it in CEX for 30 quid. 38 quid, sorry, and I know people go on about CEX being, you know, a bit of a nightmare when it comes to, you know, missing posters and, you know, quality not being great. But, you know, just stop being a snob for a second and accept that you can find some real fucking gems in CEX. Like, you know, I really hope I get to pee because there's a box set in there I really want to show off. In fact, yeah, we definitely will. I got from CEX, perfect. Hellraiser Scarlet box set, perfect. This, perfect. So, bit of backstory. William Graffet was a Florida filmmaker, akin to the likes of David Friedman and Herschel Gordon Lewis, very low budget, independent productions, and it kind of makes up a really interesting set of movies. I've only seen 2 of them, I have to admit, because I only got this the other day. I've only seen the first 2 movies in this set. And I have to, they're kind of what I expected. They're kind of Herschel Gordon Lewis, minus the gore, perhaps slightly more polished than a H.G. Lewis movie. Nonetheless, enjoyable for what they are. So, He Came from the Swamp is the title of this box set. In it, we get 8 movies, technically 7, one of them's a documentary. We get, do you know what, I'm going to go through them as and when. So, that's the back as well. I really fucking hate these, you know, these paper, annoyed. In it, we get a fuckload, which I'm now going to show off. So, first of all, I'm going to show off the poster, because I think, in terms of the artwork, I think this actually might be one of my favourite Arrow releases because it's just beautiful. I mean, how vibrant is that? He Came from the Swamp. It's kind of reminiscent of the movies, you know, a little bit garish, a little bit silly. But yeah, fantastic stuff. And then you've also got Welcome to Florida on the other side, which I think is perfectly suitable. Incidentally, William Graffet is, I believe he's still alive. He was alive at least when this box set was released, because there's interviews and introductions and everything with him. And he comes across as such a lovely man. Like, you know, he does, sometimes, you know, when you click on introduction, it's like the director going, "This is a film I made like 5 years ago, I'd watch it." There's like 5-minute introductions to these movies where he's like, "Hello, thank you for picking up this box set, and thank you so much for your time in watching." And I'm like, oh, so lovely to see. But yeah, it just comes across as a lovely man, and his films come across as a lot of fun as well. So, these come in like 2 films per disc. So, the first picture in here is Sting of Death, which I was first introduced to by Ashen's Trailer Club 70, which was a bizarre little website that doesn't exist anymore, that had kind of grindhouse horror trailers on it. And you know what? It's really fucking silly. It's about a man who turns himself into a jellyfish. it's what you'd expect. There's a musical number in it which is fucking dreadful but amazing at the same time. Watched this last night, and you know what? It was more action packed than I was anticipating, because normally these films tend to be like 50 minutes of talking, 10 minutes of action, then a little bit of a naff resolution. But no, I mean it's got some moments in it, I thought. Yeah, and then you've also got in here The Death Curse of Tartu, which was made as a B picture to play alongside Stick of Death. It was written in 24 hours, it was filmed in 7 days. Frankly, do you know what? I didn't actually like Death Curse of Tartu very much. I watched it just before coming on. And it's one of those films where an hour and 27 minutes feels like 27 hours and 1 minute. Which I feel awful for saying. It's just not a film that really struck me. I don't know if I was maybe in the wrong mood to watch it. But yeah, Sting of Death I really liked. Death Curse of Tartu, kind of about this Native American who comes back to seek revenge on those who disrespect the land in the form of wild animals. It's an interesting story, and I mean it's well enough. It is what it is. I just didn't really didn't connect with me, especially not as much as Sting of Death did, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, that's the first disc. Then you've got some non-horror movies. You've got The Psychedelic Priest, which again I haven't seen. I believe it's about a priest who accidentally takes acid and ends up going on a road trip. It sounds amazing, and I can't wait to see it. It's also called Electric Shades of Grey, which yeah, really really cool stuff as well. Special features, loads of them on here. Like you've got individual things about each film, and then you've got stuff about William Grafé in general, which is fantastic. Trailers and promos and all sorts of stuff. The other film in here is called The Hooked Generation, which, again, I haven't seen, honestly. It's artwork again, though. Can we just... Yeah. Drug crime movie. It's the sort of movie that, in my experience, I enjoy more than I think I'm going to. It turns out it's sort of like... what's set? I think the Hammer box sets, the Indicator Hammer box sets, where I buy them for the horror films, but the other films in the set tend to kind of end up being my favourites. Like, out of the Indicator Hammer sets, Yesterday's Enemy is the best Hammer film I think I've ever seen, and it's a war film as opposed to a horror film. But yeah, I'm hoping to be pleasantly surprised. So that's The Psychedelic Priest and The Hooked Generation. Then we've got what many consider to be a Jaws rip-off, but was apparently written before Jaws, Mako Jaws of Death. Not your normal kind of killer shark movie. It's about a man who can communicate with sharks. Apparently, I haven't seen it. But yeah, that's on one side, and then the other one is The Naked Zoo, which I believe is something to do with a woman who has her husband in a wheelchair but then cheats on him, or something. I'm assuming it's going to be like a drama, but I haven't seen it, so I can't say. Again, lots of lovely special features. Then the final disc in the set, I'm just keeping these all in order. This is the final feature of William Grafé's. This is Whiskey Mountain, starring Christopher George, kind of a Deliverance style thing, if I'm thinking rightly. And then you've also got They Came from the Swamp, which is like a 2-hour documentary on William Grafé, which I watched and found really interesting. So yeah, that's cool. You've got the alternative artwork inside again for the documentary, but it's not quite as consistent as the other pieces of artwork, so I've kept that as that. So yeah, I mean, as far as presentation goes, it's absolutely stunning. I'm really not doing it justice, especially that front cover. Can we just agree? But yeah, then there's also a 60-page book. He Came from the Swamp. Bear in mind, 38 quid. Even if the films are a little bit naff, you've still got a really nice package of them. But yeah, this is it's not a traditional Arrow book actually. It's entirely an interview with William Grafé, which was unpublished, I believe, up until this book. But it goes through pretty much his whole career, starting out making racing films and then turning to kind of exploitation movies, which was really interesting. I think that kind of that style of writing I find really interesting, where it's got what the interviewer asked and then the answer underneath, as opposed to just kind of written essays. I think it breaks it up quite nicely, and especially because it's coming out of the director's mouth word for word, it's a really reliable source of information. So yeah, I mean, as I say, not a set I was intent on picking up, but I'm really happy that I've now got it, and I'm really excited to see the rest of the movies in here, because if it's anything like the first two, they'll be Much of a muchness, but very interesting nonetheless. Right, yes, and then that goes in there. I thought I'd messed up my alphabet and I was going to cry, but I haven't. That sits in there. And then, incidentally, the film that sits next to He Came From the Swamp is the next one I'm going to show off, which is the 101 Films release of Hell Night, which I picked up at HMV in Darlington when me and my dad went to see Britt Ekland in the stage production of The Cat and the Canary. There's a little story for you. Ooh. Which was really good, by the way. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't seen this. This is the sort of film that you'd think I'd have seen years ago, but I just never had the opportunity to watch it. Then 101 Films announced this lovely edition of it, and I saw it, I think, $18.99, I want to say this was, which, I mean, is reasonable for what it is. It's a nice package, and it concerns these college kids who go and stay at this supposedly haunted house, and oh shit, there's someone going around killing people. That makes it sound more boring than it is, because I actually thought this was really good. As 80s slasher movies go, I found this one really entertaining. It's got Linda Blair in it, who gives, as you can expect, a really, really good performance. Also, the side characters I thought were really, really good. I thought the story itself was well told. My question is, what attracted you to the horror genre for a collection? I'm going to answer that after I've shown this off, because that's a really good question. Thank you. So yes, I will quickly whip out what's in here. More artwork on the inside, again different from the slipcover, which I really like. Special features, you've got absolutely loads. I think the film is scanned in 4K, or at least it looked like it was. It was really, really crisp and pretty basic on the inside, but what else do you need? And then with it, come on, you've also got a booklet, which again, as you know, I really like. I really like to read about the movies when I watch them. I think reading about stuff makes, I don't know, I just feel like it totally enriches the movie. Even if the movie isn't great, you kind of get more of an appreciation for it when you know about the story of its production. You know, it's like, if it had a troubled production, you kind of let it get away with more, and in turn you enjoy it a little bit more, which I think is a good way to go about it. Anyway, yes, what attracted me to horror? Basically, my whole family is obsessed with horror films, especially my dad. I'm blaming my dad for this. He has, or at least had, like a big collection of VHS tapes in a cupboard in my bedroom, and it always intrigued me, obviously, because as a kid all you see is lurid artwork, and it's sort of, you always hear stories of like kids in the 80s going to video stores and renting these movies. I kind of get it, because even though obviously I grew up in the late 90s and early 2000s where you had like Blockbuster, which wasn't really the same, I still got it, because I saw, you know, in this cupboard there was all these stacks of VHS tapes of horror movies, and all the artwork really spoke to me, and I was introduced to movies at an early age that I probably shouldn't have been introduced to at an early age, but you know, it's kind of moulded me into the person that I am. In fact, I told this story last time and I'm going to tell it again. The VHS tape that was on top of the stack in my dad's cupboard was Madman, and as I say, the artwork on that, it's really nostalgic for me, because I remember opening the cupboard and thinking, fuck, what is that? I hate it. But yeah, I really like that they've kept the original artwork on that one, because it speaks to me. But yeah, and then, you know, I mean, there's horror fans who don't collect shit, so I suppose that's not really answered your question. It's mainly to do with, I mean, for one, I hate streaming services, because you can be halfway through a series and then they go, no, you're not having that anymore. Yeah, stuff like that I really, really hate. I like having stuff there and ready to listen to or watch, especially with obviously music as well. But as well, I think it's about seeing films get releases that they really don't deserve. I think I get a bit of a kick out of it. You know, because as I said earlier, like Hitchcock films and Scorsese films and David Lynch films and Stanley Kubrick films, Orson Welles films, are always going to get lavish releases because they're really well respected. And obviously, you know, there's some really well respected horror films that have rightly got fantastic releases, but you look at certain labels and the films they release and the amount of love and attention to detail and effort that goes into the releases and the new artwork and the special features and the transfers, and it really, I get a proper kick out of it. I really, really enjoy sitting down to watch a film that was only ever available on some scuzzy, you know, like Venezuelan recorded off TV version, and then all of a sudden it's here in 4K. So yeah, I find it really satisfying, and especially, you know, I came into collecting thinking, you know, well, as long as I've got the movie, I'm not really bothered if it's the best version, and now I've just caught the bug, and I'm like, right, if it doesn't have a slipcover, I'm not fucking interested. yeah, I really like having the best possible version. It's kind of like with collecting vinyl, you know, it's nice to, when someone's put effort into album artwork, to actually see it, you know, instead of it being on a screen like that big. You've actually got the artwork in front of you and you've got the books there that you can flick through. You know, again, it's the same reason people prefer paperback books to Kindles and stuff like that, I suppose. But yeah, a very convoluted answer to a very simple question, but thank you. I'm just going to quickly check on the comments to make sure I haven't missed any. Mute that so I don't hear myself talking. I like to think the person who asked that question, whose name is Robert, I like to think Robert's just disappeared now. He got bored of my answer. But yeah, Robert, thank you for that question, that was great. Right, then we're an hour in and we haven't even started from where we left off on the last stream. Wonderful. So the last one I'm going to show off before we crack on with the letter M is this, which I picked up just because I had a voucher and I kind of needed a film to pick up, and it was, you know, it sounded like a giallo. I got it and I really didn't like it. Yeah, this is it. It was sleazy, but it kind of just felt like a giallo without the a giallo without the story. It was kind of just set piece, set piece, set piece, set piece, set piece, crap ending. It had promise as well. It had some really atmospheric moments, but it ended up just kind of being a little bit empty and a little bit vacuous, I think. I'm more than willing to try it again. It's not the worst film I've ever seen by a long way. It's Cold-Blooded Beast, by the way. I've just realised I didn't say the title. But yeah, I didn't connect with it much at all. A lot of people either seem to love or hate this film. Majority seem to hate it, frankly, and I can see why. But, you know, I enjoyed it for what it was. I suppose I get where it was coming from, but it just felt a little bit empty. So yeah, this is the 88 Films release of Cold-Blooded Beast. It is number 32 in the Italian collection, released in 1971. You've got your disc in there. You've got some special features, but not many, frankly. And you've got some original artwork there, which I think, did it have a... It had a different title. The Bestia something Sanfredo. The Beast with something. I don't know, anyway, but yeah, the English translation is apparently Cold-Blooded Beast, which pertains to the movie in no way whatsoever. So yeah, that's that. That can go up in here. And now, 57 minutes and 35 seconds in, we're going to crack on. So, the last thing I showed off in the last live stream was, the Dungeon of Andy Milligan box set by Severin. So we're going to carry on. The next one, alphabetically, is one I haven't seen, which doesn't bode well. So yeah, this is Universal. I think this is a couple of Mummy sequels, The Mummy's Hand and The Mummy's Tomb. Now, controversially, Universal horror isn't really the sort of stuff I'm interested in. I appreciate it, especially like the really classic sort of Dracula, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Mummy. I appreciate it for what it is, but my taste lies more in the kind of grindhouse post-60s stuff. That's not to say that I wouldn't enjoy these, I just haven't got around to watching them yet. So yeah, you've got a double feature of these. I believe these are the third and fourth in the series. I think there's The Mummy, and then is there The Mummy's Ghost, and then The Mummy's Hand, and then The Mummy's Tomb. I might be completely wrong there, but please feel free to correct me. Yeah, it's a pretty basic package, but I think it's quite nice. The artwork's nice, it's nicely split. It looks like a kind of double bill kind of thing with your cinema across the middle. We've got a little card in the middle with the artwork on, and then we've got the disc inside. This is just from Universal, I think. Yeah, so it's a pretty basic release on that one, but as I say, it's not really the sort of thing that I'm hugely interested in, so I'm not really too fussed. Right, speaking of scuzzy, we have The Mutilator, which is a film that, do you know, me and my dad have got very similar taste, but this is a film that divides us because he really doesn't like it and I really do like it. Yeah, it's a kind of 80s slasher set at a beach house with some teenagers who, I mean, are part likeable, part dickheads, to be quite honest. Yeah, I really like the artwork for a start. I think I saw that in a book before I actually owned the thing, and it really stood out to me because that's a really great poster. Inside, we've got an art card for The Slayer, apparently, which is a better film, I think. We've got the Blu-ray disc and the DVD. So yeah, we've got two discs in here. There we go. And then you've got the original artwork inside, which is awful because it was originally titled Fall Break, and it's a really crap cartoon of a guy holding an axe. But yeah, The Mutilator is a much better title. And if I'm to be believed, which believe me, I'm not, there's talk of a sequel about the Mutilator with a lot of the same people involved. It's kind of one of those movies that's got a cult following. There's people outside the fucking flat watching me do this, how weird. Yeah, it's kind of one of those movies that's got a cult following, enough so that there's a little bit of hype around the Mutilator too. It's kind of like Madman in a way. It's a film that not a lot of people have seen, but the people who have seen it kind of connect with it, apart from my dad, obviously. But yeah, it's a little bit kind of basic when it comes to narrative, but the deaths are really grisly. It's, you know, well enough made that it doesn't come across as being too cheap. Oh, Robert, do you know what? I'm going to answer you straight away because I'm really intrigued. But yeah, that is The Mutilator. Oh, goodness me, goodness me, goodness me. Get the next one out ready. It's another one I haven't seen. Mute. What did you just say? It's just so annoying. I just wish the comments would stay up on the screen so I could read them. Did I not just mute you? Thank you. Where are we at? I usually find most of my favourite music and films digitally, but I'm nostalgic for the early 2000s. That's why I believe in collecting personally, and thanks for the answer. You're very welcome. Yeah, a lot of it is nostalgia. I know a lot of people collect for that reason, you know, especially when it comes to VHS tapes, people who were around at the time that VHS first came out. I can totally understand the nostalgia value. Music. There it is. Right, next one is a film I'm going to watch soon because it's that kind of film. It's kind of awkward. It's a little bit like Christmas songs where as much as they're good, you really don't want to listen to them when it isn't Christmas. And much like Black Christmas, one of my favourite movies, I can only watch once a year and it's really frustrating because it feels wrong watching any other time of year. But yeah, New Year's Evil. It's a slasher movie set at New Year. That is as much as I know. I believe Dark Corners reviewed this, so I'm assuming it's maybe not the best slasher film out there. Nevertheless, that's artwork that I was familiar with long before I got the film. The look of that killer, I don't know if you can see him in the middle, is again something that I'm aware of. So I know of it. I'm aware of this film. I just haven't seen it all the way through. So this is the 88 films release. This is number 46 in the Slasher Classics collection, released in 1980. The slipcover has got different artwork to the disc, which I really like. And then inside you've got... Is this a book? Oh my goodness me. You've got a piece of paper with Short Circuit 2 on it. And then you've got a book, which is 6 pages. Yeah, I didn't know that was in there. Genuinely quite excited. And then you've got the disc as well, obviously. The least important part of the whole thing, the disc. I've got a really itchy nose. Why am I sneezing all of a sudden? Come on. So yeah, I really like... I like the Slasher Classics because they're in slim cases, which obviously fit on the shelf a lot nicer. But also, the slipcovers actually act as slipcovers. You know, the word slip being that you can get it out easily. But yeah, really nice slipcovers as well. Some of the Slasher Classics have got. Oh, I didn't realise what we've got next. I'm just gonna itch my nose off camera so it doesn't look gross. So, one of my favourite labels is Indicator, who release the Hammer box sets and a lot of other really interesting stuff. And they do sort of limited edition stuff akin to what Arrow do. And this is one of the most sought after of their limited editions because it's now well out of print. And you won't know the title of this because it didn't come with the paper wraparound. However, it's on the side. Night of the Demon. So, this is an interesting little movie. This was released in the 50s, I think 1957. It was released in the UK as Night of the Demon. It was released in the US as Curse of the Demon. It was directed by Jacques Tourneur, who is most famous probably for doing Cat People, the original Cat People. And it's another one that I became aware of through the Mark Gatiss documentary History of Horror. Because it's, on the surface, it looks like a monster movie, and it sort of is a monster movie, but there's a lot more going on underneath that makes it a lot more interesting than it probably should be. So yeah, one thing I love about Indicator, the special features to watch back to back would take about 10 times as long as watching the movie because it's just relentless stuff. You've got 4 different presentations of the movie. You've got a full-length release, which is 96 minutes, the UK theatrical release, which is 82 minutes, the Curse of the Demon cut, which is 82 minutes, and the US reissue version, which is 96 minutes. Yeah. 2K BFI restoration of Speak of the Devil, Making Night of the Demon. It's just endless special features, which I really, really like. And they never disappoint either. You know, some of them you kind of watch them and you think, oh, well, I didn't actually learn anything there. Do you know, the Norman J. Warren documentary I did, I based entirely, I think, off information that I found in their box set through interviews and reading the books and everything. So yeah, really, really worthwhile. And really undervalued, I think, indicator. So yes, in here, as with the Arrow ones, we get, I mean, look. It looks like a description of the film. It's not, it's the special features. I love this artwork. I really like this artwork. So you've got 2 discs. I think the different versions are split across the 2 discs, which makes sense. And then the original artwork, the other artwork, sorry, for Curse of the Demon is underneath. But I can't be bothered to get 2 discs out. So yeah, that's that. Then you've got a poster, obviously, because you can't have a movie with a poster as incredible as that and not include a poster. So yeah, that's the Night of the Demon artwork. That's the Curse of the Demon artwork. That's the US one. That's the UK one. Incidentally as well, Kate Bush sampled this some audio from this movie in the song Hounds of Love. I think it's Hounds of Love. Something like In the Trees It's Coming or something, it starts the song. And then you've got a book, which I genuinely forgot she was on the front. I think these are more interesting than the Arrow ones. That might be controversial. Just the way these are put together, it feels so lovingly made. You know, you've got obviously promo on the front, you've Jack Turner on the back, and then inside it's just, whoops, it is a perfect mix of, you know, artwork and information. I'm trying to find a perfect example. Hang on. You know, stuff like that way it's put together like the original promo materials were. Do you know, and it includes so much stuff that you wouldn't otherwise see that's really, really interesting. You know, you've got all the different posters and everything for the film. Really, really fantastic stuff. So if you're at all interested in this movie, this is probably the release to go for. And you know what? I think, was this CEX or eBay? Either way, it was definitely second hand because I found out about it long after it was out of print. But just goes to show, again, second hand, don't knock it, because you can get some real bargains. Because I like to think that I'd never spend too much on one release. You know, I'd never spend, on a release like that, I would never spend too much. Shock and Gore was a totally different story. But yeah, everything I own, I like to think I got for a reasonable price. Next up, we've got Arrow, but it's not Arrow Video, it's Arrow Academy. And this is their release of Night of the Hunter, which some would argue isn't really a horror film, but I'm going to talk about it like it is one. So I found out about this movie through the Channel 4 documentary, The 100 Greatest Scary Moments, on which this ranked at number 99. Yeah, Robert Mitchum, obviously big movie star. It's the story of some children whose father leave them, is it money or diamonds or something, stuffed in a toy, like a toy bear. And he gets sent to prison, and in prison he befriends Robert Mitchum, who is this kind of psychopath character, and he gets out of prison, finds the children, befriends the mother, kind of acts as a stepdad, but in reality he's just after the money, and he becomes really rather murderous in his quest for that money. Or it might be diamonds, like I say. Really good film. I think this is the only film that Charles Lawton ever directed. Obviously he was a prolific actor, but only directed one feature, which was this. But when it came out, it was critically panned, so he never really directed again, which is a shame because it's a really, really good movie. It's one of those that's got more appreciation the longer it's kind of been left to sit in the public consciousness. It's not a fantastic release, this. I mean, the film looks great, but in terms of Arrow, I have seen a little bit better. Art card in here for property is no longer a theft, so they say. So yeah, black and white one this is. Like I say, if you haven't seen it, it's well worth a watch. Acts more like a crime thriller, maybe, than a horror. Although it does have some really scary moments in it, especially the moment with Shelley Winters under the water in the car, because having submechanophobia, I think I actually featured that in my video on submechanophobia, really don't like that. It really freaks me out. So yeah, that's Night of the Hunter. I might have to run and blow my nose quickly if you'll excuse me one moment. I'm just going to leave you with the creepy sounds of the Doom music. Ugh. I'm back. Ugh. Right. Where are we? There we are. Next up is a film that featured in my most recent video. Not the Bonfire Night one. The films that scare me. Night of the Living Dead. This is by Criterion. Is this the first Criterion I've shown off? No, Blue Velvet. Excuse me. Yes. I hope I don't need to explain what this film is. Yeah, Night of the Living Dead, first modern zombie movie directed by George Romero, released in 1968. Just fucking brilliant. It's a fantastic movie. Dawn of the Dead is my favourite movie of all time. The film that came after this, Day of the Dead, equally fantastic. As a trilogy, they work so well, it's hard to put into words. But for the budget they were working on and the conditions they were working in, this came out 10 out of 10 perfect. Genuinely still a really effective movie. Itchy nose. Yeah, about the story about some survivors who get trapped in a farmhouse during a zombie invasion. That's essentially it, but there's so much more to say about this movie. Artwork on this is absolutely fantastic, as you can see. Special features, lots. Open this up. There we go. In here you've got a poster, which I believe has the girl's face on. Oh wow. I did not think there was that on the other side of it. I'll have to read that. Interesting. And then you've got obviously Karen on the front there. And then the movie. You've got disc 1, which is the film, and disc 2, which is the special features, I believe. I really like the way this is put together. It's like there's not a speck of colour on it anywhere. It's fully black and white. And then you've got the really, really nicely put together artwork on the outside. So yeah, again, I had a release of Night of the Living Dead before this, which was good, but if you want to go, to be fair, I think if Criterion have released something, that's probably the version to go for. But yeah, as far as Night of the Living Dead goes, this is a fantastic release of a movie that wholly deserves it. So yeah, Night of the Living Dead. And from absolute class, we go to absolute ass. Kind of. Nightmare Beach. Directed by Umberto Lenzi in 1989. This is Italian collection number 44. Umberto Lenzi, famous for a couple of cannibal movies. He did Cannibal Ferox, he did Cannibal... What's the other cannibal movie he did? What was the other cannibal movie he did? I genuinely can't remember. That's going to bug me. Man from Deep River. There we go. That's actually a good film. Cannibal Ferox is a little bit in between. He did a couple of Jarly in the 60s and early 70s with Carol Baker, as I think we've shown off already. Yes, in the last video we showed that box set off. But in the late 80s he was kind of like Fulche. He was consigned to making kind of a little bit naff horror movies for the most part. He did some other things as well, but yeah, he was cranking out stuff like this, which, as much as it's got John Saxon in it, isn't great. It's just about some murders at a holiday resort during spring break from what I can remember. You know, it's inoffensive, it's enjoyable if you're in the mood for a low budget slasher movie, which is exactly what this is. But yeah, can't really say much more than that. It's just, you get what you get. It does what it says on the tin. It's murders on a beach, essentially. And then we're going to stay with Umberto Lenzi for a film which is arguably just as bad but more enjoyable, in my opinion. We're going to stick with the word nightmare as well. This is Nightmare City, also called City of the Walking Dead, which is bizarre because this is the first movie which has zombies that run, even though they're not technically zombies. Fuck off. Yeah, I don't know why you call it City of the Walking Dead when it's like the only zombie film to this point where they don't walk. Nightmare City is a much better title. And this is some of my favourite Arrow artwork. This is a film that I picked up during the HMV 5 for £30 sale that Arrow put on sometimes. Bought it totally just off the front cover, and it's since become one of my favourite guilty pleasure movies. A little bit like Burial Ground. It's admittedly quite crap, but the set pieces are amazing in this. It's like just the body count is so high. Yeah, it's got great music as well by, is it Stelvio Cipriani? Is that how you say his name? Still, without seeing it in front of me, I wouldn't know. But yeah, special features on here as well, quite a lot. Apparently one of Eli Roth's favourite movies, this is. He seems to like this sort of thing. There's the City of the Living Dead artwork. A City of the Walking Dead, sorry. Which again, really, really good. And we've got a little booklet in here. Nothing huge, just sort of production notes and things like that. And then we've got the Blu-ray and the DVD of the movie, which goes there and then there. So yeah, as far as blind buys go, it is one of my favourites I've ever got, I think, in terms of blind buys. Burial Ground was also a blind buy, possibly in the same batch as when I got this, because I remember picking up a load of stuff at once. So yeah, Nightmare City, it's not a well-respected film, but it is a lot of fun, in my opinion. Unlike the next film, which is one of the most depressing films I think I've ever watched. Nightmares in a Damaged Brain. Just check the time. I've got about 45 minutes. We can crack through them. So yeah, Nightmares in a Damaged Brain. It's a fantastic title. It's been featured in the recent release of the film Censor. I think there's footage from this in the film Censor. Yeah, Slasher Classics number 12, 1981. Video Nasty fully deserves the title of Video Nasty because this is a really scuzzy grindhouse piece of work. Basically about childhood trauma. You know, the kid grows up having seen or witnessed or committed some horrible act as a child. Experimental therapy doesn't work. They only find out after he's been released, and he works his way through quite a few people. So yeah, it's really depressing. It's proper downbeat. Yeah, it's, you know, slasher films for the most part are quite fun. You know, they're never meant to be fully scary. This kind of just, it's like, right, no, we're not going to laugh through this, we're not going to have fun, you're going to be depressed. There's a rumour that Tom Savini did the special effects on this, but he disputes that, even though there's pictures of him on set, but it's presumed that he was just advising. Yeah, lovely artwork as well, again. Oh, I don't like the voices. Yeah, a few production notes and things in there. Other films on the Slasher Classics, well, on the back there, if you're interested. And then there's some alternative artwork inside, which I believe is the UK VHS artwork, but I'm not pulling it out. So yeah, this was picked up by the Video Nasties people, and for once I can kind of see why, because it's a nasty little film. Not that it deserved to be banned, but it is a nasty little film. And next, I mean, need I say more? As much as Nightmare on Elm Street is like a classic franchise, it's not one I've ever really connected with that much. I'm aware there's probably nicer releases of this franchise, and rightly so, because it is, like I said, it's a classic, but I enjoy the first film. After that, I'm just kind of like, meh. I'd much rather take Friday the 13th over Nightmare on Elm Street. Nevertheless, a really good bunch of films, and for 20 quid, this is good value, because you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 films in here, and then you've got a fuckload of documentaries and special features as well. So yeah, slipcover comes out like that, and then the films, kind of like the William Griffey box set, are kind of doubled up in there. I don't know if the artwork's any different on each one. I think, yeah, it's all just the same. Nothing too exciting with that, to be honest. I think it probably does have a better release, and if it doesn't, then it should, and I will pick it up eventually, but yeah, it'll do me for now. Nightmare on Elm Street, good franchise, but yeah, I'm happy with this for now. I saw that. Right, you're probably talking about something related to the video, but I'm a little bit on edge because this music's creeping me out, but I quite like it. Hang on, I'm going to see what this saw. I reckon after this live stream, Freddy's dead. Oh, thank fuck for that. Yeah, I think after this live stream we've maybe got one more to do, and then the whole collection is done. Which I'm kind of sad about, because I enjoy doing this. Freddy's Dead was in 3D? I didn't know Freddy's Dead was in 3D, although mind you, the glove coming out of the poster might have been a thing. Yeah, actually that rings a bell. I definitely haven't seen it in 3D, but it makes sense that it was in 3D. It's got one of those posters. Right, speaking of depressing, We've got Night Train Murders, also called The New House on the Left. Better than Jaws 3D. Do you know, I've never seen Jaws 3D in 3D, but I think it's lovably crap, I think is the way to describe Jaws 3D. Yeah, also called New House on the Left. It's a remake of The Last House on the Left, but set on a train. That is a poster that is A, fantastic, and B, totally inaccurate, because it's got nothing to do with monks or ghosts or anything like that. It's just about some horrible criminals who get onto a train, abuse these girls, kill them, and then end up staying at the house of the parents of the girls. Yeah. Lovely release of this. It was in fact Italian Collection number 1, released in 1975. Again, another video nasty. It was horrible in 3D, they really messed up. I know the shark coming through the window, it just kind of stops at the glass and then everything, you know. Doesn't look like it would be really good in 3D. Also called Don't Ride on Late Night Trains, apparently. But yeah, this is a film that if you're into kind of, I hate the phrase rape revenge, but that's, it's a little bit accurate when it comes to this film. It's really nicely made, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful film. But yeah, it's just not something you can watch a lot because it is quite downbeat. God, we're getting a lot of that today, like, aren't we? Depressing movies. Let's move on. Let's move on to a label that I don't own a lot of, but this was very nicely gifted to me by my friend Jack, who also got me another Eureka release, which we'll see later on. But this is Nosferatu, Need I Say More? This is the Master of Cinema Collection number 70, directed by F.W. Murnau in 1922. Kind of the first, it's not the first vampire film, but it's the first commonly known kind of Dracula-esque movie. Mustn't call it Dracula, because God knows this film's had enough trouble in its past with copyright. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about Nosferatu, because I feel like if you know, you know. Classic silent movie, as much as silent movies aren't my kind of thing, really. Yeah, really, really worthwhile. Classic image, it's full of fantastic imagery. For $2, what you got in Nosferatu for $2? I was going to say Eureka for $2 is pretty good value. Yeah, fantastic book. There's always so much love that goes into the Eureka releases. It's a really, really nice thing to own. And yeah, if there's a better release, I ain't aware of it. So yeah, thank you very much to my friend Jack for getting me Nosferatu. And then, do you know what? I said I don't own many Eureka releases, but straight on to another one. Have you got the Hammer House of Horror? I don't have the TV series, but I've got the Hammer box sets that Indicator released, and a couple of other like standalone Hammer movies. But yeah, TV series I haven't got yet. It's on my list. Good TV series. Yes, this was gotten for me by my dad. I think that's Charles Lawton, who we've already mentioned as directing Night of the Hunter. It's all coming full circle today. Yeah, Old Dark House, 1932. This is classic haunted house movie. Boris Karloff is in this, as you can tell. It's kind of the first classic haunted house movie, as much as it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek and a little bit silly intentionally. Yeah, I can't really think of a film that came before this that did the kind of creaky cobweb corridors and all that stuff as well as this one did. Again, really, really lovingly put together. This one has a slipcover. Crazy Uncle Saul, that's him upstairs. I love that artwork as well. I really like the old painted posters that the Universal Pictures had. 2 discs on this. This is Blu-ray and DVD. So yeah, got 2 versions of the film, which is nice, or rather 2 discs of the film. And then you've got another booklet in here. That's James Whale on the back there, looking dapper as ever. And then yeah, you've got all your lovely stuff in here, your posters and your pictures and your writing and stuff. So that is The Old Dark House. Really, really enjoy this one. It's kind of one of those that, do you know, it was quite ahead of its time, I think, looking at it, because there's a lot of kind of unspoken sexuality about this film and about, you know, the characters in it. There's a little bit of tension there that you don't often find in movies that are made around this time. Right, next up we've got the American remake of One Missed Call, which I don't remember very much. I remember the ringtone in this being really creepy, which was kind of part of the point. But yeah, these were Japanese initially, I believe. This is kind of in the same category as The Ring and The Grudge. James Whale was ahead of his time. He was, in more ways than one, ahead of his time. But yeah, American remakes, never really as good. I vaguely remember this being fine. Honestly, it's not a release I'm particularly excited for. I don't know where I got it from. You know, it's just one of those that's a little bit crap, it's like bare bones. But, you know, it's nice to have anyway. I'd like to get the originals at some point. I believe Arrow have done a box set of them. Next up, we've got cult films. Do you know, we're getting through some labels today. Can't think of a label we haven't had. Yes, cult films release of Opera by Dario Argento. This is very similar to their Suspiria release, which is probably coming up in a couple of streams' time. Yeah, this is one of his later Jarly. Very, very effective. Very, very beautiful film. Very nasty, but very, very well thought out as usual. Nicely put together, nicely shot. It's been a very long time since I've seen it, but it's something to do with an actress playing a part in an opera, and the killer, I believe, is after this particular actress. I can't quite remember why. There's a really fantastic set piece with Daria Nicolodi in this. People, if you've seen it, you know. But yeah, I prefer his earlier stuff. I prefer like Four Flies and Catalan Tales and Deep Red, but yeah, nevertheless, a really standout Argento film. Then we've got the fantastic artwork in there. I was going to say this is Video Nasty. It's not, is it? No, it came out well after the Video Nasties. I don't know why I wanted to say that. Come on. There we go. 2 discs in here. I think one is the Blu-ray and is one the DVD. Yes, as we've seen a lot in this video. Blu-ray at the bottom, DVD at the top. Special features, there's not a whole amount of them, but it is a nice release nonetheless. Yeah, it's a couple of interviews with Dario Argento. Oh, and there is a 40-minute documentary on the making of the film. That's kind of the stuff I look out for in special features. I really like sort of behind-the-scenes stuff. Not so much interviews. Interviews I can find a little bit tedious, but when there's a featurette of like the making of the film or a certain director or a retrospective, I find that really, really enjoyable. So, yes, that is Dario Argento's Opera. Next up, we've got another film I can't remember much about, another film I'm not very excited about. The Pact. I remember watching it and thinking it was a little bit shit. Again, I think I probably picked this up from like Yorkshire Trading Company for 50p or something when I first started collecting, not realising how nice releases could be, quite frankly. But yeah, I'll probably give it another go because I like to do that with films that I didn't enjoy. I like to always give it a couple of chances because sometimes you're just not in the mood. But yeah, you know, it's a bit kind of... I was going to say something that sounded really pretentious there. It's a little bit kind of, what's the word? Conventional, isn't it? It's kind of just a modern ghost story. Not as atmospheric as a lot of other films of its type. But like I say, willing to give it another go. And next up, I've just seen what's next up. This is a film that I quite liked, honestly, because it's just a lot of fun. And also rips off quite a couple of classic rock bands. Paganini Horror. I know I picked this up from HMV because I remember thinking that artwork was cool and knowing nothing else about it. Daria Nicolodi again, making another appearance in this video. Donald Pleasance is in this. And it's something to do with a classical musician who died and whose house is being used to film a rock video, obviously in the modern day, and he comes back and does random shit. He walks around in like a black hat and a black coat, and it's all very atmospheric. But the standout in this is the music, because the music is so blatantly like classic rip-off. You've got, I'm sure there's a Van Halen rip-off in here somewhere, and then the actual song that the band is recording is a complete like melody rip-off of Twilight by Electric Light Orchestra. It's on YouTube, the full film. If you can find the portion where they perform the song, you can literally sing ELO along to it. It's that similar. And I was sat watching the film, totally out of the plot, just thinking, where the fuck have I heard that before? There you go, yeah, 1981, Electric Light Orchestra. Paganini Horror, yeah, I'm sure they don't know about this film, but if they did, I'm sure they'd laugh. Yeah, it's one of those films, sort of late 80s, 1989, this is Italian Collection number 52 by 88 Films. It's one of those that you have to be in the mood for, but if you are in the mood for, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, as the release goes, it's nothing too spectacular. You've got a few special features. 88 Films are never massive on special features, I have noticed. But yeah, you've got lovely artwork, a lovely slipcover, and a nice little book as well. So yeah, give it a go if it's your sort of thing. If it's not your sort of thing, you're probably going to hate it, but that's not my fault, because I've warned you. Where are we? Oh, excited to talk about this next one. I might have to stop soon. I've just realised. This is a film I picked up very recently, and I've only seen a couple of times. Another one I was made aware of through the Channel 4 100 Greatest Scary Moments documentary. This is directed by Michael Powell, who's known mainly for stuff he did before this, kind of Black Narcissus, I think he did. And this was released in 1960 and was so controversial that he basically, never did anything anywhere close to being this major again. It's a fiercely modern kind of psychological slasher thriller about a man who is the son of a doctor who used to kind of use him for psychological experiments to do with fear as a kid, and now he has this obsession with catching fear on camera, and he does this by isolating people and then killing them with a camera pointed at them with a spike on the end of one of the legs of the tripod and then a big mirror above it so they can see themselves die. It's not very upbeat, but yeah, it's a fantastic idea and it's really well executed. It's really quite sort of, I don't know, for 1960 it feels very modern, like very, very nasty. Psycho was released the same year, and even that, as much as that's a modern horror film, it doesn't feel quite as up to date almost. This kind of deals with much darker stuff, I think, or equally dark if nothing else. This is a release from Studio Canal, who I don't own many of their things, but the stuff I do own is really good. I own Fright and what else have they done? And Soon the Darkness is one of theirs. Don't Look Now, they've done a fantastic release of Don't Look Now, which I've shown off previously. Studio Canal do the Carpenter box sets as well. They've just done The Thing, but they've also done The Fog, Escape from New York, Prince of Darkness, and They Live. But yeah, going back to this, pretty basic release, but the film itself looks fantastic. The special features are very insightful. And yeah, this is well worth a watch if you haven't seen it or heard of it, because I know this film doesn't really get talked about too much, but it's well worth your time. Next up, we've got... I'm just going to pull these two out because they're bugging me because they're on the end of the shelf. Wes Craven, The People Under the Stairs. This was a birthday present, and it's a film that I really quite enjoy. It's got Ed and Nadine from Twin Peaks in it, playing husband and wife, which is always entertaining to watch. And it's... Ooh, I've just had a scam thing comment on me, that's exciting. Yes, this couple are complete fucking psychos and they keep people locked in the basement. That's about as much as I can remember, quite honestly. It's kind of like a horror comedy-esque thing. But it's really entertaining. It's not frightening as such. It's got moments in it. But yeah, really, really entertaining stuff, and it's a fantastic release from Arrow. It's not the sort of film I thought they would have released, but nonetheless, here it is in all its glory, and it's got lovely artwork on the front there as well. People Under the Stairs. And lastly, on this side, we've got a film that I only watched the other day, and again, it's really fucking downbeat and depressing. This is The Perfume of the Lady in Black. Now, I was expecting a giallo. Maybe a supernatural giallo, but a giallo. What I got was a really horrible kind of story about this girl's childhood and how it's repeating on her, but then there's a fucking... Spoiler alert if you don't want this film spoiled. There's a cult at the end, and they just kind of rip her open and rip her guts out, and then it says the end, and then it's finished. And I'm like, what the fuck? I mean, it was really good, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. And it really took me by surprise, and I like it when films do that. It's enjoyable when they take you by surprise and don't do exactly what you expect them to do. I'm just going to quickly put my iPad on charge because I'm aware that it's running out. There we go. But yeah, this totally left field with me. Starring Mimsy Farmer and directed by Francesco Barilli, who I'm not aware of him doing. I mean, he probably did other films, but I'm not aware of them. But yeah, 88 films again, Italian collection, number 30, released in 1974. The fucking dog just scared the shit out of me. Don't make those noises. Yeah, other title on this, I think it's just The Perfume of the Lady in Black in Italian, but yeah. My dad saw this ages ago and he said he didn't like it. And I kind of get why, because if you went in expecting what I was expecting, then it totally isn't what you think. As much as it feels Giallo-ish, it's kind of got it's foreboding and a little bit creepy all the way through, and then it just culminates at the end, and it just kind of leaves you like, eh? But yeah, Perfume of the Lady in Black, really worth your time if you haven't seen it. This next box set's the one I've been waiting to show off. I'm going to do one more section of the shelving, and then I'm going to call it a day, because I need to go and order some takeaway. Right, how do I get this out? I'm going to whisk around this way and pull it out, because it's a really big box. This is another one I got from CEX. I paid, I think, £45 for this. I'm so happy to own this. Yes, Phantasm. Now, it had a release initially. Well, I think this actually came first, and then they released just the little box set with the 5 films in it. A little red thing it was, and I picked that up, never thinking I'd get to see that, and then all of a sudden it's on CEX for like 40 quid. I'm thinking, yes, please. So, and I think this is probably the nicest condition thing I've ever got from CEX, because even the paper backing is intact. There's a slight crease there, but I mean, who gives a shit? Yeah, Phantasm, if you're not aware, kind of supernatural horror films, kind of action, family orientated. Some of them, they're a little bit violent, but they feel kind of more childish and childlike, which isn't a criticism. Yeah, lovely design on the box. You've got the staircase, you've got the cars, you've got the dwarves, you've got the house. We open the box. I'm going to try and do this so you can see. This lifts up. Inside is a piece of foam. Inside is a sphere upon which you can attach, hang on, let me get this right, there we go, spikes of death. And then you've got your very own Phantasm death sphere. How cool is that? It's only plastic, but still really, really nice. I kind of wish I could display it somewhere. But I mean, it fits in the box fine, so I'm just going to keep it in there. Pull those out, just quickly put these back in right, so I'm not, excuse me, I'm not panicking thinking that I've ruined my box set. Yes, there we go. And then this big bit of foam comes out because it's housed in this kind of big foamy thing. It sits in the top of there, on top of the box, like that. And then there is actually films in here as well. But first, we get a book. It's another huge book. It's like the Hellraiser one. It's about 150 pages, I think. 150 exactly. I haven't read this one yet, I have to admit, but more of what you'd expect. Lots of interviews and behind the scenes stuff and pictures and posters and press kits and all that sort of lovely stuff. Really heavy, really glossy, really lovely. And then all of the films are housed separately with their own individual artwork, which is nice. So you've got Phantasm there, the first one, unsurprisingly, followed by Phantasm 2. Just trying to keep all this in order. I'll reiterate, this was 40 quid, not 140. Phantasm 3. Yeah. Phantasm 4. And finally, Phantasm 5, Ravager, as it's called, which is kind of a bit crap, but I'm going to get away with it because it's a Phantasm movie. But yeah, oh my god, no, and then that's not finally, because we've also got a bonus disc full of special features and things. Yes. So 6 discs, a fat book, and a big shiny ball. Yeah, can't recommend this highly enough. If you're a fan of Phantasm, you know, if you can, especially from CEX, if you can pick it up for the £40 mark, you're laughing, basically. Quickly put this back in there. A little bit of foam on the top, and then that goes on like that. So yeah, I mean, when they say box set, this is probably the closest thing I've got to a box set. It's like a perfect cube. But yeah, if you need to know how many special features there are on here, there you go. I'll leave that there for you to read for half a century. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Really, really pleased to own that. Yeah, I've got a few more releases to do, and then I'm going to call it a night because I'm getting hungry and I need to clean the flat. Right, I'm just going to pull all these out in one. There's not too many to show off now, maybe like 6 or 7. And the next one is actually another box set I'm really pleased to own. I got this one from eBay. It's another one that's well out of print. It is the Arrow Limited Edition Phenomena box set, which is fat. And part of me is fearing that they're going to release this in 4K and I'm going to have to upgrade and get rid of this, which I really don't want to do, but I will if necessary. Yeah, Phenomena, Argento again, kind of like a supernatural Giallo. Dario Nicolodi again making an appearance in this video. And the lovely thing about this is it has like 3 different versions of the film in it, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so there's the Italian version, which is 116 minutes. There's the international version, which is 110. And then there's the 83-minute version, which I believe was released in the US under the title Creepers. As you can see there, which I cut a lot of the, I don't want to say extraneous stuff, but you know, it really cuts it down to bare bones, obviously, because it's like, what, 40 minutes cut out or something like that? Nearly 40 minutes. So yeah, lovely artwork, obviously. Open this up. You've got Phenomena with its original artwork. You've got the Italian version, and you've got the international version, and I'm assuming you get a CD in here as well somewhere, or the soundtrack's on it, because you've also got a soundtrack listing there. Oops, come on. Then you've got the Creepers version, which comes in its own box. I think, yes, the CD is in here by the looks of it. The Creepers cut, and then the CD soundtrack, which is really nice. So it's a 4-disc set. And as you'd expect with Arrow, you also get a lovely, lovely book, which I did read, but it was a very long time ago, and Dario Nicolodi has just scared the shit out of me. Yeah, more of the same. Lovely stuff, lovely stuff, lovely stuff. It's one of the harder ones to find for a reasonable price, and I can kind of see why, because I can't think of another Arrow set that has this layout, where there's kind of 4 discs spread across 2 boxes like that. All for the same film as well, roughly. Yeah, that's Dario Argento's Phenomena, released by Arrow Video. Next up is a drink of water, because I can feel my throat starting to go. We've made so little progress in this video, it's unreal. This is another one that has an Arrow limited edition release that I'm yet to get. There's also a Grindhouse release of this as well, but I don't know about Grindhouse, because you have to get them exported, because I'm in the UK, they're an American thing, so you have to get them exported, which costs a lot, and I'm kind of looking to see if it's worth it, because if it is, I'll pay the shipping, but if not, I'll just keep the Arrow ones. Pieces! You don't have to go to Texas for Chainsaw Massacre, so the tagline says. This stars Christopher George of Whiskey Mountain, William Griffey, and it is, I don't know how to explain it, it's a slasher film. Some people say it's a Giallo, it's got Giallo elements, but it's more of a slasher film. But it's kind of infamous for being really weird and really silly, because it doesn't take itself seriously at all. It's not something you can say about Pieces, but in the best possible way. I think is it directed by someone who's Spanish? Oh, I can't see the name on the back. But I get the feeling this is an Italian film directed by someone who's Spanish. But yeah, it kind of has a really off-kilter vibe. It's got bits added in that were added in for the sake of it. It's got really, really bizarre dialogue. It's got fantastically gory death scenes. And yeah, it's just a really great movie. If you're into like video nasty style stuff, this wasn't a video nasty, but it probably should have been. Yeah, then you'll probably like this. As I say, this does have a limited release from Arrow, but I'm yet to get hold of it, but I will eventually. And you'll soon see it on one of these updates, believe you me. I've got an Arrow art card in there. So yeah, that is Pieces by Arrow. It's a film I really like. Next up, Vinegar Syndrome. They've made an appearance. I think that's pretty much every fucking label I own have been showed off in this video. Yeah, this is their slipcover edition of Pigs, directed by Mark Lawrence, released in 1972. Pigs has got one of the most interesting release histories of any film I think I've ever heard of. So it was made by Mark Lawrence essentially as a way to make money, as kind of a low-budget exploitation horror film. But then it's been released in so many different versions. There was a version called Daddy's Deadly Darling, which is probably its better-known title in America. It was released as Blood Farm, I think. It was released as Love Exorcist. It was released as Linda, Strange Love Exorcist. Linda? Is it Linda? Lisa? A name, and then The Strange Love Exorcist. Yeah, really, really weird. It's a story, it doesn't appear to be supernatural at the start, but it kind of develops into it, about a girl who escapes from a mental institution and goes to stay with Zambrini, who's this kind of bizarre ex-circus performer who owns a diner and a load of pigs. The neighbours say that he kills people and feeds them to the pigs. The sheriff kind of investigates that. We learn about Lynn. Is it Lynn, the Strange Love Exorcist? Who's played by Mark Lawrence's daughter, and it just kind of spirals into this really twisted little story. It's not fantastic, but it does have an atmosphere about it that makes it a little bit disturbing. It was on the Section 3 video nasties list. And again, Dr. Sparkle After Dark, this is one of the movies he's covered, and it's really, really fascinating to see, because he properly goes in depth about all the previous releases of it. Which, yeah, it's really, really interesting. So yeah, Pigs, open it up. Slipcover, as you'd expect from Vinegar Syndrome, is absolutely lovely. Got some different artwork in there. You've got the special features, which is all down the back. Daddy's Girl, apparently it was also released as, because it's got like alternative Daddy's Girl opening sequence, Exorcism opening sequence. It's similar to what happened to Mario Bava's Lisa and the Devil, where after the success of The Exorcist, they kind of re-edited it and added in exorcism sequences which don't fit at all. I think Lisa and the Devil got edited into House of Exorcism, and this got edited into Strange Love Exorcist, or whatever the fuck that is. I've just seen a comment, but I'll get to you in a second. So yeah, open this up, we've got DVD and the Blu-ray, and we've got some alternative artwork as well. So yeah, I really like Vinegar Syndrome, I have to say. It's just a shame that I didn't get into them sooner, because now the slipcovers are a fucking nightmare to get hold of. But this one's still quite available. I think there's a lot of these floating about on eBay for reasonable prices. Yeah, good stuff, Vinegar Syndrome. Mute. I said mute. Let's just check that comment, because I've just seen something. I will wrap this up, believe me and you. Me and you and me. Are you interested in other aspects? Stupid fucking webcam shit. Are you interested in other aspects of films, such as collectibles, posters in themselves, or is it just linked to the movies? Couldn't find a better word. I'm not going to lie, irrevocably? That's not a word that I know of. And I'm privately educated, I'm not. Sorry, I've just seen as well, Invisible Ray commented, "Don't Go in the House is good, they have a naked woman chained up." Yes, that's getting a release from Severin. They're releasing loads of video nasties at the moment, which is cool. Robert, yes, I'm going to start the music again before I start talking, so otherwise it's awkward. I don't really collect, I mean, I don't at all. I don't have any figures, I don't have any posters, other than what comes in box sets. Yeah, it's just, for me, it's just about owning the films. I know that might be a slightly boring answer, but it's true. If you want a fantastic horror collection, then go over to A Real Horror Show, run by Jamie and Liam, which is a YouTube channel, and they are also on Instagram. And they really go all out with collectibles. They've got art prints and figures and Blu-rays and all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, there's loads of stuff on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, incidentally, so am I. Ben.Simpson.1998, I think. But I'm famous enough that I come up when you type in my first name, apparently. Right. 4 more to go, and then I'm calling it, because like I said, need to go soon. This is a film that I'm going to be upgrading in the near future, because it's coming out in an Arrow Giallo Essentials box set, even though it's not a Giallo really, and it's not really essential. As much as it's good, it's a black and white kind of thriller, The Possessed. I don't remember much about it, I have to be absolutely honest, although it does have a ring of the girl who knew too much about it. I don't know if it's just because it's black and white and it has, spoilers, a female killer. But yeah, it kind of reminded me of that. But Arrow are doing this thing at the minute where they feel the fucking need to get rid of stock, presumably, so they're boxing up other stuff and putting them in box sets. Like, I think this is in a box set with Suspicious Death of a Minor and Pajama Girl case. It's just weird what they're doing at the minute, and as much as I will get the box sets eventually because they're pretty, it just feels a bit unnecessary. But yeah, back to this, The Possessed. I mean, it looks like Johnny Cash on the front. It isn't Johnny Cash. Lovely release. I fucking love the artwork on this. In fact, I'll show you the original artwork. That looks kind of more like a Giallo poster, doesn't it? But yeah, you've got the disc, and then you've got you've got your art card which has RoboCop on it, and then you've got booklet, writing, all in black and white again. So yeah, not a film I can comment on too much other than saying I remember enjoying it. And it obviously stuck with me because I remember who the killer is, but yeah, as I say, you'll probably see this again soon when I pick up that Jarlo Essentials box set. There's two. There's a red box and a yellow box. This is in the red one, I think. Nearly dropped it. Oh, fucking hell. I mean, I like the film, but the release is shit. It's just one of those things, you know, where they crank it out. Predator, don't need to say anything. Arnold Schwarzenegger, fantastic movie. Action, gore, nastiness, guns, violence, blood, aliens, sci-fi. Shit Blu-ray release. Oh, we've got two slipcovers, and then we've got the end, because I need to go. Just looking at what we've got coming up in the next one. Interesting stuff. Stay tuned. But yeah, this is a film that I've previously owned, but then realised that Arrow did a much nicer version, so I got the much nicer version. This is Prey, or it's The Prey, rather, not to be confused with the Norman J. Warren sci-fi film from 1977. This is a slightly crap slasher film, frankly, but I love this as a package. It's fantastic. In fact, I remember it being alright. It's one of those films that a lot of people seem to pan. I went into it thinking it was going to be shit, and it was slightly less shit than I thought it was going to be, so in my mind it's fine. Yeah. Monster in the woods, I think it's a monster. It might just be someone who's deformed. But yeah, fantastic slipcover on this. Lovely artwork. This is the sort of thing I mean when it doesn't deserve this kind of release, you know, because it's such an obscure movie, and yet it gets put out in a version like this. It's got a fantastic glossy slipcover, it's got wonderful original artwork, it's not human, and it's got an axe, apparently. 2-disc limited edition, you've got 2 different cuts of the movie. You don't need 2 different cuts, but I like it. So yeah, you've got the theatrical cut on disc 1, and then the international cut on disc 2, which features loads of fan footage and 45 minutes of rare, never before seen footage from the cutting room floor, and it just seems like of all the movies to get a release like this seems like one of the least likely. And also in here that I really like is they've got a prop. Well, it's not a prop from the movie, but you know, they go out into the wilderness and they have these little cards, if I remember. You've got your own little card you can fill out. 1 permit per group of up to 15 people. So you've got your name and your address, and there you go. Look, how to avoid bear attacks and don't take drugs and set fire in the woods and all that shit. That's cool. Love shit like that. You've got a booklet, as you'd expect, with a frog on the back for some reason. There's a lot of wildlife footage in this, I vaguely remember. Yeah. All that stuff. Then you've got the international cut, which I think is the one I don't know which one I saw. I think I saw the theatrical one. I'm yet to see the other cut, but I think I've seen the shorter one. And yeah, I mean, it's fine. I think that's the original artwork there, which again is really quite good. Yeah, a lot of people slate this one. I kind of get why, but at the same time, I just think fucking raw. It's an 80s slasher film. What do you want? Give me just 5 years to put all of this amazing stuff back in this amazing box. There we go. That is The Prey. I got this off Zavvi. It's one of the only things I think I've ever bought off Zavvi. Oh, did I get it from eBay? My memory's telling me Zavvi, so I'm going to say Zavvi. Yeah, I don't really like Zavvi that much, but it did arrive in good condition, so I'm happy with that. And then we end as we begin, because we're ending with a film I picked up in the Severin mid-year sale, which is funny. Yeah, I'm going to make this the last one. And it was on the Video Nasties list. I don't know if it was section 2 or 3. But again, a film that doesn't necessarily deserve a release as good as this. Primitives, which is not the title I know it as. I know it as... Come on. Savage Terror. That's the title it went on the Video Nasties list under, and I believe that's the original video artwork as well. It's a cannibal movie. It's I think it's Indonesian. I think it's the only Indonesian horror film that I own. It's bog standard stuff from what I remember. I'm not a massive fan of the cannibal genre as it goes, but it was on sale. I got it with a bundle of other stuff. I thought, it's a Video Nasty, I need to pick it up eventually. Why not now? Let's just say that artwork is fucking dreadful. Look at the alligator at the bottom. Look at the alligator. But yeah, it also bizarrely has Kraftwerk in the soundtrack. Not, it's Robots. It's the song Robots, but I don't think they used it with permission. I think they stole it. Yeah, cool artwork and everything on the back, right up, and then your disc in the middle there. A remake of Deodato's Jungle Holocaust. Yeah, I mean, as cannibal films go, I've seen much better. I think I watched it. I think both of those are on the Section 3 list, aren't they, for Video Nasties? I think I probably watched them quite close together. They all merge into one. There's Jungle Holocaust, there's Cannibal Ferox, Cannibal Holocaust, Savage Terror, Eaten Alive, Umberto Lenzi. That's the other Umberto Lenzi cannibal film, Eaten Alive, and that's a Severin release. God, we have come full circle. How funny. But yeah, to be fair, I think Deodato's cannibal film, Last Cannibal World, I think that's Jungle Holocaust's other title. A lot of people seem to really rate that film, and I thought it was just kind of pretty bog standard. I think it was probably the first one, which is why, so you can't really call it cliche, because cliches weren't a thing when it was released. But yeah, I remember enjoying it for what it was, but I'm not too eager to see it again until it inevitably comes out on some fancy Blu-ray and I get it. I'm out of breath. Right, a drink of water, then we'll wrap this up. Yeah. So, we've made very little progress there, mainly because obviously we did a lot of talking about stuff that wasn't in the alphabetical stuff. It started off with like an hour of me yammering on about fucking Severin films, but I enjoyed this. Let's do it again sometime. Yeah, I've got... if I do one more live stream and make it long, I reckon we could probably finish it. We're up to P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Yeah. One long one or two short ones. I reckon we could probably finish this all up in. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you very much for your comments and everything. Oh, you know, that feels nice. Oh, because I slouch. Right. Yes. I don't know when I'll be doing another one of these. If you follow me on Instagram, I tend to post on there when I'm going live. If not, then just, I don't know, fucking subscribe, I guess. Yeah, then you'll see, obviously, when I go live. Thanks, Ben. You're very welcome. Hello, Coco Loco. I'm just about to go, but that's a very nice monkey. Right. Yes. See everybody later. I'm going to go and put all these fucking lights away. Bye. End the fucking stream now.